Welcome back to Sika Strength and welcome back to the Sika News Show, brought to you by the release of the Sika Strength training app. This is a custom-made app for us as we've been working on it for nearly a whole year at this stage. A lot of different features, so go check out the breakdown video we released yesterday, but some of the main features are dynamic loading adjustments on volume and loading, host of new programs, revision of old classics, RDA Part 2, Becoming a Horse, the Jerk program, just to name a few of some of the new programs. So check that out in the iOS and Android store. Very, very excited to get that going. And it's really the next evolution, the next step in our coaching for people and to improve people as much as possible. Now, we've a lot to get doing on this new show, so we're going to get stuck into it.
Keep on doing on.
Let's keep doing it. I don't know why it'd be the way it do, but it'd be. Today we've got a new find. This is like a new gem is what I'm calling this. His name is Rakuei, and this comes from Seb. We lift weights is at Japanese Nationals, and it's Django. Django is the Korean Seb. So beautiful lifting. But I wanted to start off with his 250 kilos for a AAA back squat.
These back squats. So the big thing here is how toes forward he is for me. And when we go to look at his lifting in a sec, we'll see it even more. He has a very non-Japanese technical style of lifting, but very, very nice triple at 250.
What I really like about his back squat is the straight wrist position. So a lot of times people don't think about the wrist position too much in the high bar back squat, but this vertical stacked position allows a load of really great proprioception going from your middle back all the way to your arms. Keep this as tense as possible. And it does keep those forces driving up a little bit and not just pushing slightly forward. So this extension in our wrist does actually cause a bit of an issue. And so he's got that really nice stacked version.
Classically gorgeous Japanese gym as well.
Oh, unparalleled. So here's some of you snatching, really not Japanese snatching, sweeping it back off the floor. Knees are coming back out of the way, hanging over the barbell as you should. Really powerful hip extension.
I'd go so far as to say classically Eastern European or Russian style of snatch.
Oh,
yeah,
this guy went there.
Very, very nice. Really nice vertical extension at the top as well.
Yes.
No overly leaning back. That obviously comes from, or when we see the more kind of classical Japanese style, they really favour that knees forward, hips into the bar very early, which leads to their shoulders going back behind the bar then.
He's making me miss snatching, which is, I haven't been snatching in a while and I'm getting kind of outgrow for it.
Now, the clean here, you do see that kind of more classical Japanese style technique, but in a bit of a kind of cross on from that, very toes forward.
Yeah.
Very, very toes forward.
Yeah, he's just got
love it.
Short femurs and just that great build for weightlifting. 81 kilo lifter.
Yeah.
Absolute one to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Highly recommend a follow there. Oh,
nice.
I was convinced I'd already followed them. I look like an asshole. Next up, we've got everyone's favourite Venezuelan fridge, Keydomar, with a 300 kilo squat starting off. I can turn off. 280 kilos.
Look, I'm not going to lie. I was in shock when I saw the 280 earlier.
Don't mind the 280. Look at the 300. Oof.
Oh my God.
Mugging me off.
Absolutely crazy. The 280 for me is somewhat more impressive.
Yeah.
Or it's more shocking how easily that 280 looks. Or how easily it moved.
To be honest, they look kind of the same.
Yeah.
His upper back position in the back squat is something else. It's so controlled. He never loses any upper back. He gets into more extension as he squats up, which is crazy. Where's he going with that 300 kilos? What's he doing with that?
It's a long way away.
Next up, we've got Kate Vibert hit 2 BPs from the blocks. She hit a whopping 118 kilo block snatch.
So block snatches, very, very commonly used. I remember when we were over with Miso in Qatar, really commonly used for getting back into shape or kind of getting to those heavier weights a small bit earlier. 118 looks so easy here though.
And we also have a 151 kilo block clean as well. So no jerk after this, just did the kind of quarter dip or the jerk dip on the top just to kind of get a feel for it. But 151 kilo. I assume this is the heaviest she's ever cleaned.
It's an incredibly strong catch at the bottom of that clean.
Yes.
Like very, very, I'm sure she'd be incredibly confident catching much more than that in the bottom of the clean by how easy that looked for her.
Similar to Rakuei's hip extension, so all the way into the hips. The snatch is probably one of the best technical aspects from Kate Vibert, so maybe one of the best technicians in the USA, or definitely one of the top technicians in the snatch for sure, and there's no surprise it carries over onto the block snatch, especially at 118.
Yeah, really fast underneath it as well.
Yeah, definitely a 120 or 122 or 1 maybe there if she pushed it further, which I'm sure she'll be intending to. Next up, we're back in Japan again. We've got Yuki Hara. So Yuki Hara with this just 160. He's an 81 kilo lifter as well, but he's just hitting that invisible box that some lifters hit when they power clean stuff.
Yeah, I don't understand how he can catch and stop that quickly and that solidly.
Yeah.
It does look like there's an invisible box behind him.
You know, it kind of doesn't make sense because that's at the part where your femurs are kind of the most disadvantaged point, and it looks like to be the most powerful point for him.
I cannot understand it. Unless maybe there is a little plastic block wrapped around the back of his knee underneath those knee wraps.
There's some advanced Japanese camouflage technology with multiple cameras on it.
A little bit of technological doping there.
Yeah, it's incredible. It reminds me of Ilya's 200 kilo power clean from London in the training hall, which was absolutely outrageous. In this week's section of the Lee Sang, formerly known as the Artyom Anchipov section of the news show, I just really wanted to include Lee Sang because he's just been training really hard. He hasn't done any massive single weights, but he's just been looking dick skin shredded.
Now,
doing bits.
Yeah. Every time we see Lee Sang training, not Lang Si, Lee Sang training, he's always doing crazy volume.
C Lang.
But I feel like he's doing even crazier amounts of volume right now.
I'm just glad he's doing snatch, clean, jerk there, to be honest with you. Even if it is a push jerk, I'm just really happy for him. He's really rocking the singlet, pants, and abs.
Yes.
I could do 2 of the 3 of those things currently, and it's not the singlet I'm missing.
You know what? When you're that shredded, those tracksuit pants make you look even more athletic.
They do?
Like, if he wore running shorts here, he still wouldn't look as athletic as wearing those polyester training pants.
Yeah, and it's the white shoes as well really adds.
Yeah.
The only way he could look more athletic is if he had white Adidas weightlifting shoes on.
Yes.
I still hate his snatch, but I love Lee Sang.
Yeah.
C Lang. Next up, we've got an unknown Chinese lifter who's an 89, and he's got a 170 kilo snatch from the floor. I think we saw 175 hang snatch from him, and the 170 from the floor is very classic kind of mythological Chinese technique.
This speaks to the sheer depth of professional weightlifting in China. Obviously, we have the podcast series coming out this week. We have Steph on the podcast talking about 1,200 professional senior level weightlifters in China. This man is doing world-class lifting, and we've never seen him before.
The guy who posted it didn't even say his name.
Just Chinese weightlifter.
Yeah, Blade Weightlifting.
Number 814.
Yeah, you don't get a name until you make to the main national team. He's got the clown Anta shoes on. Your favourite shoes.
I love those, yeah. I used to call them my Pikachu Antas.
Pikachu Anta. Pikachu doesn't have any red in them there.
Okay, well, I didn't know that, Owen.
Ever get a load of this guy? Next up, we've got Cesar Flores, who actually, a couple of people tagged us in this, but Cesar tagged us in it himself, and I'd already seen it though. Just 320 kilos for a double pause back squat.
Look, you know when the bar shoots off your back like that at the top of a back squat? A lot of the time people say like, oh, the squat must be so easy, the bar's moving so fast, it pops up, it looks really powerful. But the skill to be able to make that bar go to 0 again, and you do the second squat, is absolutely insane. I think that's what people, the most commonly missed thing with incredibly heavy squats is how well they actually secure the bar for the second or the third rep.
Isn't it mad that 320 is the most you can fit on a weightlifting bar with bumpers?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it should be more.
And they're not even the big, thick black bumpers. They're like the competition style coloured plates.
Are any of those extra thickies?
No.
Some of them look, I don't know, do they? Some of them look extra thickies. Now, Caesar's an extra thickie himself, but he wears lovely overalls sometimes. Or would you call them dungarees or overalls?
I'd call them dungarees.
Yeah, I don't think dungarees would make sense to Americans if they're watching it.
No.
Dungarees, I feel like Australians call it dungarees as well.
think in the States they might call them bib and braces.
No, I think they call them, I don't know, oh, maybe they do.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, Cesar 320, a double. I'd have to say a 350 squat for a single. Looking at these, look at the speed of that
That's
first
absolutely
bust.
scary.
Scary. I'll tell you what's scary. This is the next post. This guy, a lot of people think it's edited. We don't think it's edited.
I don't think it's edited, no.
We've done the due diligence. Whoa. So he's jumping with 315, which is 140-ish kilos onto, what's that? 3 foot, I'd say, is it? This guy.
I would say that's a 20 centimeter box. Maybe 30 centimeters.
That's 20 centimeters.
Yeah.
Fuck. Anyway, I don't think this is edited.
Look, all I'm going to say is this video gave me the heebie-jeebies. And it's not because of the super scary music or any of that.
Yes.
It's because of the staggered step.
That's
onto that
what
box.
I was just going to say.
My good God.
Yeah. Like, there's plenty of weightlifters who could do this. Not to say it's not
Yes.
impressive. That doesn't mean
No. This is crazy impressive.
But the staggered landing is almost upsetting.
It gives me the willies just watching it.
If you were doing weighted back squat jumps, which you might have some uses for, maybe for looking for like really high ground reactive forces, and you could justify a big use for those, vertical jumps would still be the better answer than a weighted box jump. There's no reason to justify this other than it's just a thing to do.
Yeah, I can actually feel my heart beating just watching this.
That's the thing you do once joking and you'd be like, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah. Second your feet land on the box, you're like, thank God that's over.
Literally.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got... Now, Dara didn't want to include this because English Rugby are through to the semi-finals and we don't want to talk about what happened at the weekend, but... What's his name again?
Joe Marler.
Joe Marler. He's a bit of a character in the English Rugby team.
He is a character, yeah. But he had the best press conference performance of any professional athlete I've ever seen last week.
I think no one's more surprised than England that they're in the semi-finals. But there's a 190 kilo bench press. And I just wanted to talk about the top comment. Maybe concentrate on the rugby rather than the lifting, but they're in the semi-final. So
yeah, give me a break.
Give him a fucking break, will you?
Give all of us a break.
You can't do anything. The athletes can't do anything these days without some little schmarmy cunt just being like, anything. He's just, you don't even know when this is from.
Also, 203 likes.
Yeah.
So that means there's 204 utter idiots on the internet.
Yeah. Joe Marlin's a solid rugby player.
Yeah.
Not the best in the world, but he's a fucking great rugby player. He's good.
Yeah. It hurts me to say it because he's an English player, but yeah.
And
he's a funny dude.
England and Argentina are in the semis for some reason. Nobody knows why that's happening, but sure, look. Yeah, he's a funny guy. A good rugby player. Leave him alone. There's no need for that.
No, there's absolutely no need. And it's a massive bench press.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
You know what?
Yeah.
This is yet another example of, because we've seen so many people benching 200 kilos now, people are just like, 190.
I will say he loaded it real weird, but when you're benching, it doesn't matter what way you load it.
Also, when you're a rugby player doing your S&C work, doing close grip bench press, it doesn't matter how it loads.
Does his spotter have dreadlocks? No.
No, I think just...
Are they dreadlocks?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know, are they dreadlocks?
That's a whole thing.
Remember Tanu Amaga had dreadlocks? He who must not be named. Now, a lot of you tagged us in this, and we talked about this thrower Johannes a few weeks ago, and Throwers Universe threw up this 140 pullovers, assisted pullovers with 140 kilos. Johannes, by all accounts, a phenomenal javelin thrower, right? These are assisted, I don't know, overspeed pullover. Like, how much... He's getting a lot of assistance there. This is stupid. I'm just going to say it. I don't know.
You never want to look at somebody's training and be like, there's absolutely no reason to do that. Because there might be a reason. Maybe there's some anterior weakness there that he really has to work on.
Yes.
This is just very far from the mean. Nobody else does this.
Do you know what the biggest problem with this is?
Go on.
Is the amount of assistance he's getting from his coach is so uncontrollable and inconsistent. It alone makes the exercise pointless because you have no idea what he's actually getting from this. Like if he was doing 140 by himself at the same technique, you'd be like, that's intense for an Olympic athlete to be doing.
Yes.
But maybe it's still valuable. But because the coach is helping him so much, you've no idea what you're really loading here. So would it not make more sense just to load it to a weight, regardless if that was 60 kilos?
Yes.
Something you could do more consistently. I don't see the point in doing this with so much assistance from a coach. Now, maybe the coach is just spotting him and it looks like this from the angle, but it really looks like to me that the coach is doing a supinated grip deadlift.
It's hard to know, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to know. Even if you were to do it and put a force plate under the coach's feet, you're still not going to get a real... You're not going to get a real reflection of how much he's putting in there.
And we always want to be nice to the athletes.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were just nice to an English rugby player, you know. But just because I don't want someone to be like, maybe it is a good idea.
But you know what? You still shouldn't leave comments on the Instagram.
No, you shouldn't. No, you really shouldn't. Now, here's a man that's no stranger to comments. Tyson Ridenour. Ridenour, I don't even know her. Anyway, a 504 kilo deadlift attempt. Now, he gets a lot of slack online, and we'd be the first to give someone slack for sumo deadlifting, but
you know what? He pulled some massive weight.
Yeah.
He has a genre of video that I think he's kind of making a bit of a thing at the moment, is him just walking into a normal gym and he ends up pulling 400 and something kilos. And everyone's like, oh my God, this is crazy. And it works really well on TikTok or on a YouTube short. It's absolute, like, he's a serious deadlifter. It is no joke to be even attempting those weights, even if it is sumo, even if it is with straps, whatever. I'm a fan of his.
I'm not a fan of his, but I'm not a hater in any way and fashion.
Okay.
Like, I don't look at these lifts and go, oh, I really like that. That's super aesthetic. Most people's, there's two main gripes people kind of have with him, which is the upper back position, so the serious amount of upper back flexion, and the range of motion which his sumo deadlift moves through. One of the other things is just notable, no way of griping him, is that he doesn't really train the other lifts. It doesn't seem like he squats for meaningful weights from what I can see, and seems to have only recently started bench pressing.
Okay, so he's a deadlift specialist.
Yeah, it looks like his bench press is like 150 or maybe something similar compared to his 504 kilo attempts. Now, he did a competition recently and he pulled something fairly large without straps, 900 pounds, double overhand.
Yeah.
Some people did have some gripes, like didn't seem to be calibrated plates, very whippy bar.
But it was in competition setting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was with a comp bar.
That doesn't look like a comp bar. But I don't want to add to the hate on anything, but it was a very notable event. 504 or 500 plus kilo deadlift attempts or 500 plus kilo deadlift attempts, even if they are sumo, and he's not wearing a deadlift suit, which is important.
And he's not a super heavy.
No, he's in phenomenal nick.
Yeah.
I feel like I've come across really negative there in the last 2 seconds, but I'm just like, he's in great nick. He's a big, thick dude. He's doing the thing he wants to do. I'm sure he knows a lot of the aggro he gets is good for engagement and stuff. So
absolutely,
like, he's just doing him. He's in great nick. Big jacked guy, great jawline, big pecs, even though he doesn't really bench. Like, he's just trying to do stuff,
Big strong dude.
Maybe if he pulls 500 plus, like, he'll be in the club, It's not that many of them there currently, or 500 or more.
There is less than a handful.
Yeah. He's just well built for deadlifting, especially sumo deadlifting.
Yeah.
I would like to see what his max conventional is. Not in terms of let's see what he pulls conventional. Just like, what would he actually pull conventional?
Purely as for an entertainment point of view, I'd like to see it.
Because remember Caleb Woolham, Dr. Deadlift, used to have a huge sumo and huge conventional. Yeah. Jamal Browner's another person like that as well. So I'd be interested to see the carryover. Now, I don't know if this
now for our delve into controversy.
I don't know if Theo Maddox, who is that uber strong guy, is throwing shade at Tyson, but the top comment is someone, Tyson is so much better, whoa, hashtag sarcasm. So basically Theo put up a 460 kilo deadlift. and just said it was a meme lift. He said this doesn't count. This means nothing. It's a comp bar. They put collars inside the plates to mimic the kabuki barbell. Like, yeah, Theo kind of explains at the end.
Yeah, he does. Like, the big thing here is like it adds 50 kilos to your deadlift straight away. You're still deadlifting over 400 kilos.
Like, it's 460. That's the first reason. I see the video clip was at the end, and when someone tagged us in this, I just watched the 460, and I was like, that's a good deadlift. That'll go in the news show. And then Theo's talking at the end.
That I just did. And Johnny Kaufman has already done a video pretty similar to this, but I just wanted to say that that lift that I just did means absolutely nothing. I'm using pound plates. I'm adding clips onto the inside to mimic a kabuki bar because we don't have them in New Zealand. And I'm using fingertip grip with straps. And the main reason that you can't compare gym lifts to gym lifts or gym lifts to comp lifts is because there's no standardization. You can only compare competition lifts to other competition lifts. The lift means nothing, it's just fun. So yeah.
And that's the thing. I think the end of that is what everyone needs to pay attention to.
Yeah.
The lift means nothing. It's just fun.
It's all just fun.
Yeah. If you're in the gym training for yourself or whatever, even if you do like local comps or whatever, it's still just for fun. Almost none of us are getting paid to do this.
Ed Cohen said, great to see some honesty. Which, yeah, let us know your thoughts with Theo's thing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's just for personal enjoyment at the end of the day, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, not for personal enjoyment, and this isn't fun. We've got Lukas with a 270 by 9 zombie front squat.
And these are legitimately zombie squats, Gareth.
Well, he called them front squats, but Dara pointed out before the show that these are actually just zombie squats, like he was talking about, because he didn't touch the barbell.
He's not touching the bar with his hand.
He's making this look too easy, and he's actually downplaying how impressive this is.
Now, you were involved in a bit of zombie squat controversy once upon a time.
Yeah, one time I did a 220 kilo zombie front squat, and it looked like it was 160 kilos in terms of how easy it was. And Barbench shared it, and it went viral a few random places on Facebook, especially, which was strange.
Yeah,
loads of people were like, "Those are fake weights," which was hilarious. It was in the CrossFits I used to train in, if anyone remembers. And my only regret on that was not doing 240 that day.
You really should have.
But it was, we were both like, I'd never done zombie front squats before in a meaningful fashion, and then I did 220 like a piece of piss, and I was like, oh, that's that was heavy. I was like, that was dangerous.
You know, I think
danger.
Danger. The unthought of thing with zombie squats versus front squats is just a lack of upper back tension.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we kind of pull ourselves into a front squat, you get a lot of tension, like subscap, upper trap, lower trap tension just from the holding of the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, in this case, Lukas is not feeling any of the effects of that.
I'd much prefer zombie front squats than the recent rise in Zercher. So the Zercher thing has really taken off. But if you really want to do that kind of front loading and you can't do or don't want to do the front squats, the zombie front squats would be a much better option, I think.
Yeah.
But Lukas doing 270 by 9 is stupid. It's stupid, Dara.
It is stupid, yeah.
Now, Mega Gojira benching 280 kilos for a 7.5 kilo PB, 617 pounds. And Mega is pretty strong. Strong guy.
Yeah, it's fairly safe to say he's a pretty strong guy.
He's a strong dude. I hear he squats a bit too.
His feet just kind of move around a little bit as he's pressing that, which makes no sense. How are you... Sorry, I was about to say squatting. How are you bench pressing 280 kilos without an insane amount of leg drive into the floor?
You know, it's because his feet are moving around is why he's so good at squatting. That build is carrying over. Yeah, ridiculous bench.
So impressive.
It's great to see him still progressing at those lifts when he's, so far advanced. He's making 7.5 kilo PBs and stuff.
Yeah.
I assume he's got to be gunning for that kind of 300 kilo or so bench press.
Surely, yeah.
Nice long pause there as well. So very honest rep in terms of powerlifting competition.
The other thing is as well, when you look at him unrack the bar, it looks like his grip is very wide because relative to the barbell and relative to a normal human being's shoulders, that grip is quite wide. But that's pretty much where close grip would be for him.
Yeah.
Fully vertical forearm, like 45 degrees between his humerus and his torso. It's not a crazy wide grip. It's not like he's cutting his range of motion in any way short.
No, that's plenty of RAM. Now, speaking of plenty of RAM, we've got Denise Herber again. with a 285 kilo conventional deadlift PB. So very, very, very good deadlift technique. So just toes straight forward, feet underneath the hips, great start position, top down setup, pulls the, I don't want to say slack out of the barbell, but puts a lot of tension into the into the barbell, into her upper body, and just really a masterclass in moving the mixed grip conventional deadlift.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd add to that is the pace at which the barbell is moving is so perfect.
Yes.
A lot of people will like tear the barbell off the ground in the deadlift, and then they'll get shakier as they finish that first pull or as they pass the knee, and then it's very, very slow, and you get a small bit of, or hitching might occur, or it might start to get towards that level. Her speed is perfect. Squeezing the bar off the floor, bar pretty much stays at the same speed throughout the entire lift. It's so, so good.
Now, oh, sorry, one more thing before we get to the controversy. We have Mason, who's third week in a row on the new show. Mason squatting 380 kilos for a double. The Vivo guy, the barefoot.
I think it's fair to say Mason is on a roll.
On a roll, yes.
380 kilos for a double.
That first one is outrageous. Definitely 400 kilo squat there if he hasn't done it already.
20 kilos added to my 2RM this peak. My good God.
Super strong.
Super strong.
He looks very tall, doesn't he?
Looks very tall for his height, like.
Yeah, he's heavy for his weight, like.
No, it's so quad dominant as well. Like, that's a very difficult weight to squat that weight.
He's walking out 380 like there's not much on it.
Yeah.
He is stable.
My God.
Yeah. Very, very good.
So impressive.
Hardly any low bar in that, really. Like, it's not... That's a very... I'd call that a high bar, to be honest. Like, it's not a... It's, you know, it's not down by the AC joint or anything like that.
How utterly fatigued must his central nervous system be after that?
Very, I would say.
I can't even imagine what that would feel like.
The week after would be the worst.
Yeah.
Now... A lot of people have been asking us about this. It is the USADA being dropped by the UFC. The UFC are dropping them on purpose. Basically, it seems like for the purpose of Conor McGregor being to come back to fight, because everybody pretty much assumes that he took performance-enhancing drugs after he broke his tibia. And... The UFC have basically been dropped, and they kind of had a bit of a hissy fit, a little bit of a bitch fit. Dana White is quoted as saying that they went full Britney Spears. We don't need to give them the full quote from USADA, but they basically said that they're very disappointed on the whole shabacle. They were saying that the UFC aren't really looking out for the health of the athletes, and that they're worried that they won't do the post kind of 6-month testing. UFC have dropped them, haven't said what they're going to do about drug testing. And one of the big things that USADA is apparently UFC accounts for about 30% of their income. So a whopping amount of money coming at them. But, you know, snitches.
There's a few things on this for me. So obviously the Conor McGregor incident, or the Conor McGregor debacle, is a major thing. But I don't think it was just, like, to be honest, I think USADA are much to blame for this. So obviously... There was a rule that everybody agrees to, that someone can leave and come back once they go back into the testing pool for 6 months. Everything I've read on this has said that USADA basically were trying to change that and say, no, it doesn't matter. Even if he comes back in for 6 months, I know he had problems even getting back into the testing pool. They were saying he hadn't contacted them. They were saying he wasn't getting onto them. McGregor and the UFC were saying they were doing everything they possibly could to get back in the testing pool. Also, a myriad of other fuck-ups, for want of a better term. Drug testing athletes at 5 o'clock in the morning when they're cutting weight that night.
Yes.
Just a host of other things, wanting or blood tests from athletes when they're cutting weight. Just crazy things where you think... If the relationship had been kept a small bit better, they'd probably still be employed by the UFC.
You know, isn't this a good case of kind of cutting off your nose, spite your face from USADA? And I'm not going to lie, I think it's funny that So some people will argue that they're being super principled or whatever, but at the end of the day, UFC is a business. They're not beholden to anyone. They're beholden to making profit year after year, as much money as possible. And the USADA doubling down on something that, to be honest with you, doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. It's millionaires fighting each other, punching each other in the face. If the UFC want to do something, you're employed by those. If you have a developer or a contractor or someone, let's even a builder in at your house, and you say, I want to do this, and they're like, nope, this is what we agreed on, so we're definitely not changing that no matter what happens, even though that person is paying you to do that job. It's a similar kind of an idea, and it does seem largely over the McGregor split. And obviously UFC, McGregor, one of the biggest, if not the biggest drawers the UFC has and probably has had in the past, and they want him to fight again without any obstacles. And if he's going to come back fighting, it's obviously a huge amount of money for the UFC. So you think with the USADA, in the interest of not being eradicated from the program, could help more athletes by not being left go, if that's their actual prerogative and it's not the millions they get from the UFC and it's actually about helping athletes, then they would have just kind of let this happen and not really made a big deal about it. But because of the statements they've made, the UFC basically let them go, and it's definitely a big deal. It's quite interesting.
It is a big deal. I think something the UFC has that's starkly different to almost every other sport or professional sport in the world is that the UFC is not worried about grass level sports. It's not, you're not going to be bringing little Jimmy down to his UFC or MMA training class on a Saturday morning. They're not worried about large scale federations within different countries who are going to be giving him kickback on this, saying, oh, our UFC organization in our country wants to have clean sport or whatever. The UFC is a very, very small company relative to what most other large-scale international sporting agencies are like. And the UFC really only worries about the 80 to 180 current fighters they have. And that's why they can run it like that. That's why they can do this. Even if we took something very, very similar like boxing, the boxing organizations aren't going to be able to do something like this, even though they're probably only worried about their top level fighters who are fighting for titles. They still have to be beholden to amateur level boxing, grassroots boxing, where the UFC clearly don't.
So the UFC Chief Business Officer Hunter Campbell and anti-doping Sir Jeff Novitzky subsequently announced that the UFC is threatening legal action against USADA for defamation, with Campbell demanding the anti-doping organisation issue a formal retraction and apology by Thursday night due to what he described as disgusting, disturbing and material misrepresentations made by the head of the current USADA. So USADA is done. UFC... Dana White's a pretty cut and dry businessman from what you see in terms of his public decisions most of the time. And obviously their cash cow is Conor McGregor. Their cash cow isn't testing the athletes and maintaining the presumption of clean sport, which it isn't a clean sport anyway. So interesting development, definitely big news in terms of that front. Didn't see it coming, to be honest.
No, I didn't see it coming at all.
I would have thought UFC would have had a bit more control, maybe not control is the right word, but a bit more direction with what USADA did. And it was really, I would have imagined the case of USADA did the testing that they were contracted to do or supposed to do, and then UFC kind of decided what to do with that. And if there was any changes to be made, UFC would just be like, this is the change that's happening, and USADA would go along with that. But it seems to be that's not the case. And bad business move by USADA, not just to get the fuck over it.
Absolutely crazy by USADA.
Crazy.
I think that's probably more of a large-scale systematic thing within WADA, within USADA, within UCADA. All these, they have the ultimate power.
Yeah.
They have this kind of sense of entitlement that they are the arbiters of fair sport, and you're not.
No.
In this case, there's a few millionaires sitting in a room that are much more important than you are, and they got kicked out.
That's great to see.
Out to where they deserve to be.
That's great to see. No, it's fantastic. Thanks for watching, guys. Check out the Sika Strength app on the iOS and Android store. No, genuinely, it's fantastic.